I never imagined I'd save a girl who turned out to be an unbelievable billionaire heiress. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The rain poured down like tears from the sky, heavy and relentless. I stood there, in the middle of the street, my heart racing. I could feel it pounding in my chest, echoing against the silence that enveloped me. That's when I heard the scream. A desperate, chilling cry that cut through the chaos. Turning towards the sound, I saw her. She was trapped, struggling in the water that snaked through the alleyway, pulling her down. Her eyes were wide, filled with terror. Her hair, once golden, now glistened with rain, framing her face like a halo. I couldn't just stand there. My body moved on instinct. I dove into the icy water, every inch of me screaming in protest. But there was no time to think. As I pulled her from the grasp of the murky water, I felt her trembling body against mine. A mix of fear and relief washed over me. Why were you here? I wanted to ask, but all that came out was a choked whisper, "Are you okay?" She looked at me, confusion swirling in her gaze beside the gratitude. Up close, I noticed the designer clothes clinging to her, the way they shimmered even in the dim light. There was something about her that felt out of place. She belonged to a world far beyond my own, one I'd only glimpsed through the flickering screens. The crowd began to murmur. I could see eyes widening, heads turning to get a better look. Some gasped, others pulled out phones, ready to capture this moment. Who is she? I thought, and my heart sank further. I didn't care about anyone else, all I wanted was to keep her safe. That moment stretched on forever, pulsating with tension. But then, as quickly as the storm had come, she broke the silence. "Thank you," her voice was soft, shaken yet strong. I could sense her spirit wasn't broken, but then a voice cut through the murmur, sharp as glass, "That's her, the billionaire's daughter." The words rippled through the crowd, igniting a new wave of curiosity and whispers. I felt the eyes on her, judgment thick in the air. Why was she here, in this alley, in the rain? Her expression faltered. A flicker of fear replaced the warmth in her gaze. I didn't understand. Why would someone like her be in danger? The rain picked up again, rushing around us. I held her gaze, searching for answers in the depths of her dark eyes. But then she looked away, and in that moment, I knew something powerful was brewing beneath the surface. A secret, something that could change everything. What other mysteries lay in wait within the depths of her world? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the murmurs intensified around us, I felt the weight of the world pressing down on me like the rain that soaked through my clothes. I held her close, feeling her warmth against the chilling wind. There was something monumental about this moment, something that stretched far beyond our entwined fates in that grimy alleyway. "Please," she said, her voice barely rising above the din, "let's get out of here." I nodded, my throat tight. She was trembling, but we both knew that our escape had to be swift. Emerging from the alley, I felt the lifeblood of the city surge around us, passers-by with expressions of shock, some still foaming on their phones as if this were a spectacle instead of a moment that might haunt souls. Navigating through the crowd, I could sense her discomfort growing. The whispers and pointed fingers clawed at her like the rain-laden fingers of the storm, leaving her feeling exposed and raw. The muddy pavement squelched beneath our feet, but I focused on her. I needed to be her shield. "Let's just find somewhere safe," I breathed, leading her to a nearby cafe. The neon sign flickered like a cheap, desperate dream, but inside was warm, almost cozy. We slipped within, and I carefully guided her to a corner table, far enough away from the prying eyes. As we settled, I studied her. Her cheeks were flushed, no longer solely from the cold but from an embarrassment that cut deeper. She glanced around, as if searching for an escape route rather than solace. I wanted to reach across the table, to hold her hand and remind her everything was going to be okay, but fear held me back. I didn't think anyone would see me, she muttered, her gaze finally meeting mine with a strength that surprised me. I mean, not like this. There was so much unspoken truth in her words, a fracture that could widen into darkness. I've been hiding, I guess. Hiding from what? The question slipped past my lips before I could stop it, driven by an insatiable curiosity mingled with a sense of urgency. This was her moment, her chance to unfold her story, and I wanted to be a part of it. She took a breath, and for a fleeting moment, I watched her wrestle with her thoughts. My father, you don't understand. He's not who everyone thinks he is. Being his daughter isn't a privilege. It's a burden. Before I could respond, the door swung open abruptly, and a man stepped in's idea figure dressed in an impeccably tailored suit, his hair slicked back and eyes scanning the room like a hawk. When he spotted us, I felt the air in the cafe shift, tension sparking across the space. The way he regarded her sent chills down my spine. She stiffened instantly, the color draining from her face. Ellie, he called softly, but there was an edge to his voice, a warning that hung between us like a thread ready to snap. My chest tightened, realizing this Ellie was in more danger than I had imagined. Her expression turned to one of pure fear. No. Not now. She said urgently, rising to her feet with a determined grace. The weight of her heritage, whatever shadows loomed behind it, suddenly felt vast and suffocating. Ellie, we need to talk. His voice softened to a conspiratorial whisper, but it held no warmth. It was a command laced with authority. I stood, instinctively placing myself between them. Who the hell are you? My voice cracked, tremors of adrenaline coursing through me. All I knew was that I would protect her, no matter the stakes. His gaze shifted to meet mine, assessing, almost amused, as though I were a mere inconvenience in this larger game. I'm someone who knows what's best for her. Behind him, the rain remained relentless, a dark curtain that separated us from the world outside. I felt Ellie's presence, fragile yet fierce, radiating an unnameable strength. She reached for my arm, a gesture both pleading and resolute. Please, I need you to trust me. Trust. The word was so heavy. How could I trust in a world I hadn't even begun to understand? But as I looked down into her eyes, a storm of emotions whirled. Something deeper than fear gripped me. Before I could decide, her hand slipped from mine. She turned to face the man, her resolve solidifying. There was no turning back now. I'm leaving with him, she said, her voice steady and unwavering despite the chaos swirling around us. The words hung between us, a devastating reality sinking like a stone. And as she moved forward, I felt the ground beneath me shift uneasily, a new, uncertain path stretching out before both of us. I had saved her from drowning today, but could I save her from whatever awaited in the darkness of her world? In her eyes, I saw a flicker of a storm brewing, not the rain that battered the window, but a far graver tempest that could swallow us both whole. The air seemed to thicken around us as a palpable silence descended in the cafe, the chatter of patrons fading into a muffled backdrop. I felt unmoored, watching Ellie take those tentative steps toward the man, her back to me. This isn't just about you, he said, his tone low but commanding. You know you have a role to play. A surge of emotions crashed through my confusion, anger, a deep-rooted need to reach out and pull her back. But I was frozen. The coffee cups rattled lightly on their saucers as if echoing my internal chaos. I swallowed hard, the hardness of my throat amplifying the fear clawing inside me. Ellie, my voice broke free, trembling and desperate. Don't go with him. You don't have to, don't, she snapped, turning back momentarily, her hazel eyes pleading with me to understand. This isn't what it looks like. I'm not a damsel to be rescued, not anymore. Her words clung to me, sharp and bewildering, leaving unanswered questions circling in my mind. The man took a calculated step closer, his presence suffocating. You have no idea what you're meddling with. He redirected his focus toward me, irritation etching deeper lines across his face. I stepped in closer to Ellie, partially shielding her, trying to ward off whatever invisible threat he radiated. And you have no idea who you're dealing with either. I won't let you hurt her. Ellie exhaled sharply, her resolve wavering for a flickering second. You don't understand, Jack. You never have. I can't keep running from the truth. Then tell me the truth. I shot back, feeling the fissures in my heart widening. What are you so scared of? Her hands fisted at her sides, trembling. It's complicated. She cried, tears shimmering in her eyes, threatening to spill over. Everything about me is complicated. What if I want to help you? I breathed, feeling raw and exposed myself. Each heartbeat echoed the urgency to break through the chaos enveloping her soul. The man stepped forward again, this time reaching out as if to grab her, but Ellie recoiled instinctively, drawing away from him. My heart surged with hope, believing our moment to flee together might still be alive. Ellie, please. Trust me, I implored, my voice hoarse, laden with an urgency I couldn't control. Look around you. She snapped, eyes darting to the people who watched us with sadistic curiosity. Do you really think you can protect me from everything? From him? You don't know what I've done, or what he will do to keep me bound to this life. The barista, a young woman with kind eyes that had been watching our exchange, stepped forward, breaking the tense standoff. Are you two okay? She asked softly, hesitantly, a sense of compassion radiating from her. The man brushed her aside with a wave of his hand. Stay out of this, he barked, his patience wearing thin. I want. She replied firmly, meeting his gaze without faltering. You can't act like a monster in here. This is a safe space. A flicker of kindness shone amid the turmoil, providing a small, warm gust of hope in the freezing bitterness surrounding us. The man, momentarily taken aback, narrowed his eyes in response, seemingly weighing his options. Ellie, I pressed again, desperation bleeding into my tone. Do you want this? Is this what you choose? Because if it is, I won't fight you. But you need to be honest with yourself and with me. For a moment, she faltered, her expression shifting, uncertainty cluttering her usually resolved demeanor. Jack, she whispered, barely audible over the mounting tension. But before I could articulate my thoughts, before I could delve into the whirlpool of what this decision implied for us both, the man intervened, authority oozing from every word. Enough. We're leaving. He turned with determination, expecting her to follow like an obedient shadow, but Ellie hesitated, glancing back at me with a conflicting storm of emotions etched in her features. Ellie. I cried out, recognizing this was about more than just her choice. It was about both of us. Our collective futures which teetered on the brink. An explosive silence erupted, and she stood there caught between two worlds, two destinies. The barista mirroring my anxious stare, awareness blooming around us, a moment all too sacred to let slip. Then, with a decisive breath, Ellie made her choice. I won't be controlled by fear. Before she could say another word, I watched as she spun on her heels, her spirit igniting anew, ready to forge her own fate. As I reached out for her hand, a blinding flash of recognition surged through me. Truth beneath her vast burden was about to spill into the open. Ellie, wait, I shouted, but the moment was closing, chaos loomed larger. As she raised her chin defiantly toward the man, I felt a pang of loss in my chest. And in that instant of uncertainty, a sudden loud crash echoed from outside. The cafe windows shattered, splintering amidst the chaos as a figure emerged, a shadowed silhouette that could change everything, a harbinger of secrets unraveling, gripping our very existence in an unyielding embrace. The revelation hovered in the air, a dense tension spiraling like smoke. I sensed the darkness that had haunted her, ready to break free into the world, and I knew in my heart that we were just on the brink of something unimaginable. The dust settled like confetti in the aftermath of chaos, and for a second, time stood still. My heart pounded against my ribs as I processed the reality unfolding before me. Ellie, fierce and unwavering, stood at the edge of a precipice, grappling with her choice above a chasm of uncertainty. The man, his identity cloaked in menace, staggered back, momentarily distracted by the shattering glass, a snarl contorting his features. But what caught my attention was the figure outside, framed in the shards of light breaking through the remnants of the cafe windows. With every heartbeat, the truth unraveled, coiling tightly around me. This was no stray figure. There was a familiarity to the silhouette, a haunting presence that hinted at secrets best left buried. I caught a glimpse of the faintest outline. It was someone from Ellie's past, someone who could either be salvation or ruin. Jack. Ellie's voice broke through my reverie, laced with urgency. I turned to her, needing to ground myself amid the turmoil. "We have to go now. We're not safe here." My instinct screamed for me to stay, to protect her, but the raw fear in Ellie's eyes ignited something deeper within me. I took a step toward her, my hand instinctively reaching out. What if we're walking into a trap? She shook her head, her belief resonating firmly in the charged air. "I won't hide anymore, Jack. I refuse to live in the shadows." A cacophony of gasps erupted from the patrons in the cafe, voices muffled by the adrenaline rushing through my veins. The barista still stood, a fierce look of defiance on her face, ready to shield us, while the tension between Ellie and the man oscillated like a live wire. "Ellie, please," I whispered, my heart hammering in my chest. "Tell me what is going on." But as she opened her mouth to speak, the figure moved closer, stepping through the wreckage with a supernatural grace. Recognition washed over me, and an ache blossomed when I saw the glimmer of dawn glinting off raven black hair and the fierce blue of eyes that seemed to hold 1,000 truths. Ellie, the name slipped from her lips, dripping with an unrequited affection that knotted time. My mind reeled, piercing through the echoes of our tangled narratives. This was Sarah, Ellie's estranged sister, a brilliant entrepreneur who had built a staggeringly successful tech empire from the ground up. A woman who harbored her own demons. "Why are you here?" Ellie's voice shook, the tenderness she felt towards Sarah raw and visible, like a wound barely scabbed over. The world shifted again, off-kilter, as the memories twisted in the air between them. "I came to find you. To bring you back," Sarah replied, her voice clear and unwavering. "There's so much you don't understand. The life you've run from isn't what you think it is." I watched Ellie grapple with her sister's statement. "Back to what? Back to that prison you built for yourself? Or more secrets?" Rage bubbled beneath her surface, threatening to erupt into chaos again. The man, emboldened by the fear he instilled, stepped forward, his resentment palpable like a dark cloud gathering overhead. "Enough of this," he growled, eyeing Sarah with a mix of disdain and knowing, an opponent recognizing the stakes. But Sarah wasn't backing down. "You need to let her go," she said fiercely, standing between us and the encroaching darkness. "You have no hold over her anymore. Do you really think she will choose you? After everything you've done?" The man's words dripped venom, each syllable puncturing through the fragile restoration of hope. "Everything I've done was to protect her," Sarah shot back, her voice now rising in strength, a warrior's courage forged through hardship. "What about you? You want to control her? You think you own her?" The tense silence enveloped us, the air thickened with unspoken truths and lingering regrets. Ellie's breath came fast, the rhythm of her heartbeat syncing with the conflict surrounding us. "What do you mean, Sarah? Protect me from what?" In that moment, the rift widened, drawn by a single unanswered question, a revelation dancing just beyond the horizon. waiting to wash over us. Sarah's gaze locked onto Ellie's, fear and determination warring within her. You need to know the truth about our family, Ellie. About our father, and why they came after you. They're not just after your past, they want the legacy too. We can't let them win. Eyes narrowing, my pulse quickened as I glimpsed the deeper layers of Ellie's story unraveling before me. Legacy? What legacy? Ellie's hands trembled, her breath hitching as the weight of betrayal and secrecy bore down on her shoulders. The man thrummed with impatience, despair edging closer to insanity, yet we stood rooted, unsure if the truth would shatter us more than it would liberate us. Then, a revelation flickered through Sarah like a lightning bolt. Ellie, you're more than just an heiress. You're the key to saving our family name from implosion, a fortune that could either uplift or destroy. You need to decide where your loyalty lies. The cafe hummed with a tension I could no longer ignore, the fragile threads of our lives pulled taut. Ellie stood there, caught in the crossfire of her own existence, the astonishing complexity of her lineage closing in like waves ready to crash, and as the ominous shadows deepened, I could practically feel the worlds shifting around us, the ground quaking beneath the weight of hidden truths yet to be revealed. In that timeless moment, I sensed there was something monumental waiting just beneath the surface, a revelation that could change everything. Ellie. I strained to say, my heart pounding with urgency, knowing the moment had come, the breaking point. But before I could utter another word, the world exploded around us once more as the man lunged forward, his intentions sharp, forcing us to make a choice that would reverberate through the very fabric of our lives. In that split second, everything became clear. Ellie stood on the precipice, poised to reclaim her autonomy or plunge deeper into a darkness she had thought she could escape. The lives we had built, the love we had nurtured, were all precariously balanced in that moment. An unswerving decision awaited, and time felt like it was slipping away, leaving nothing but chaos in its wake. The air crackled with tension as the man lunged toward us, a swift predator with rage burning in his eyes. In that heartbeat of time, I had to make a choice, and instinctively, I pushed Ellie behind me. The warmth of her presence felt like a lifeline, anchoring me even as the chaos unfolded around us. Stay back! I shouted, my voice breaking through the din of disbelief and shock. The patrons in the cafe scrambled, some retreating toward the kitchen, others frozen in fear. But my focus remained solely on the unpredictable storm sweeping over us. Yet, just as he advanced, Sarah stepped up, her demeanor shifting, a fierce glint igniting in her gaze. You don't want to do this, she warned, voice steady, a contrast to the tempest surrounding us. The truth may be your greatest weapon, but it's also your biggest downfall. A tense silence swallowed the room, punctuated by the echoing pulse of our hearts. The man hesitated, confusion knitting his brows as if Sarah's words had momentarily disarmed him. Ellie's grip tightened on my arm, her breath shaky. Jack, we can't stay here. We need to go, now. I looked into her eyes, searching for courage, her fiery spirit blazing through her fear. Together, I said, confident we would forge ahead as one. Together, we could confront the swirling shadows of our pasts. With an unexpected quickness, Sarah seized the moment. The back door. I'll take care of him. Are you crazy? I exclaimed, instinct pulling me to refute her bravery. You can't face him alone, but there was an indomitable resolve in her stance, one that felt like nothing else mattered more in that fraction of time. You need to protect her. Trust me. The urgency in her voice was contagious, igniting something within me. I nodded, tearing my gaze from her to focus on Ellie. Let's go, Ellie. She was already moving, fear and determination blending in her every stride. We dashed toward the back of the cafe just as Sarah turned, a fierce glare aimed at the intruder. If you want her, you'll have to go through me. As we reached the door, the chaos erupted once more behind us. Shouting, a crash, and the desperate clash of bodies echoed within. I pulled Ellie close, forcing the door open and shielding her from the sight of unfolding violence. The alleyway before us was narrow and dimly lit, a stark contrast to the vibrant chaos we'd just escaped. The air held the sourness of spilled coffee and shattered dreams, but out here, there was a sliver of hope. We ran, slipping through the shadows, our footsteps pounding against the pavement. As we rounded the corner, I turned to Ellie, apprehension swirling. What now? Her gaze darted around, searching for something in the unfamiliar night. We need to get far away from here. My apartment is nearby, it's the only place I can think of where I might feel safe. Your apartment? I repeated, still reeling from the revelation that she was an heiress. Is it secure? If it isn't, we've still got each other. We can figure something out, she said, a fire igniting in her voice. The energy between us pulsed with urgency and possibility, drawing us closer amid the uncertainty of everything surrounding us. As we reached her apartment building, we slipped inside, lingering in the darkness of the stairwell. The building was eerily silent, but the weight of every step reminded me of the chaos we had just escaped. When we reached her door, Ellie's fingers trembled as she fumbled with the keys. I leaned against the wall, my heart racing as I reflected on the storm of Revelation's legacy, betrayal, and shadows. Ellie, about your sister. But before I could finish, she cut me off, a vulnerable look piercing through her usually fierce demeanor. Jack, can we just breathe for a second? There's too much happening. Okay. Just breathe, I echoed, forcing myself to ground us both in the moment. As she finally unlocked the door, I felt the urgency of the last 24 hours closing in, the weight of her family's secrets and the man lurking behind us becoming unbearable. With a flick of her wrist, the door swung wide open, and we stepped into her sanctuary. The familiar sense of vanilla and cedar enveloped us, but it felt unwelcoming, an illusion shattered by the truths we carried. I shut the door behind us, the click of the lock echoing like a ticking clock, counting down to the next confrontation. Ellie leaned against the wall, her breath coming in heavy whispers. What if he finds us? I stepped closer, extending my hand in a silent offer of reassurance. We'll find a way, I said, my voice steady. But first, I need to understand what's at stake. Her gaze met mine, vulnerable yet fierce, the flickering candle of hope illuminating in the darkness. Are you ready for the truth, Jack? Before I could answer, a loud bang resounded outside, ferocious and relentless, shattering our moment of calm. My heart dropped, dread coiling like a serpent in my chest. This is not over. A voice bellowed from the street. It was the man from the cafe. His menace loomed larger than life, echoing through the door like an ominous promise of retribution. Ellie stepped back, fear flooding her features anew. What does he want from us? I realized the chasm had widened yet again, the road ahead shrouded in uncertainty and darkness, and the past was already clawing its way back into our lives. The truth was a heavy burden, and with every moment we lingered, I feared it could shatter everything we'd just fought to protect. We're in this together, I whispered fiercely, but uncertainty creased her brow. And just like that, the promise of hope felt fragile, teetering, on the brink of calamity. As we moved closer to the window to gauge our surroundings, the eerie glow of headlights ignited across the street, and a vehicle screeched to a halt, each sound reverberating with trepidation. Who is that? Ellie breathed, her fear palpable, and as she peered through the blinds, my stomach tightened in anticipation of what awaited us outside. The noise outside rose like a chorus of impending doom, blending with the thuds of my racing heart. I could feel Ellie's anxiety radiating off her, a palpable energy that urged me into action. The moment I placed my palm over the glass of the window, the darkness beyond felt alive, and dread surged as I leaned closer to catch a glimpse. Headlights sliced through the shadows, illuminating the area with cold, harsh light. The red taillights glimmered as a sleek car idled outside, its silhouette sleek and menacing against the backdrop of the night. I scanned the scene, desperate for answers, but the shadows were unyielding. What I did see, however, sent a chill racing down my spine, the unmistakable shape of a man stepping out of the vehicle. "Jack," Ellie whispered, fear threading through her voice as she gripped my arm tighter. "What if he finds out I'm here?" "No one's getting in here, at least for now," I assured her, pulling her closer. My thoughts raced. "But we can't just wait for him to make the next move. We need to figure out what he wants." She shook her head, panic glimmering in her eyes. "You don't understand. If he's looking for me, if he knows I'm behind that door, it's not just me he's after. There's more at stake, Jack. It's my family." Before she could finish, a sound echoed through the apartment, a heavy thud, followed by silence. We froze, exchanging glances, awareness dawning cruelly upon us. It wasn't just fear, it was the shared understanding of the danger already encroaching upon us. "What was that?" I whispered, heart thrumming in response to the urgency of the moment. "I don't know," Ellie replied, shaking her head. "Maybe it was just the wind." I didn't believe that for a second. My gut churned with the certainty that the threat was real. The man from the cafe was not done, and I sensed that beyond the immediate danger, shadows lurked that we couldn't yet understand. I reached for my phone, only to find that it no longer had service. No, I muttered under my breath, growing increasingly anxious. "I can't get through, Jack." Ellie whispered urgently. There was a new intensity in her voice, drawing my attention. "If we want to understand who he is and why he's after me, I need to find something. Just give me a moment." My instinct screamed at me to stop her as she moved into the living room, flicking on the lamp and plunging us into a dim light that hardly felt safe. "Ellie, wait, it's okay. Trust me," she replied, her conviction wrapping around me like a faint beacon of hope. But with every step she took toward the darkened apartment, something larger than my own fear clawed at my thoughts. Who was this man, really, and what lengths would he go to for revenge? Ellie moved to a cabinet, her fingers dancing over various objects as she searched for something concealed, something I could only guess she needed. "There's a vault in my family's estate, something containing records, information about our business dealings. If he's after me, then he's after everything my family has built." "What are you saying?" I asked, stepping closer, trying to piece together the puzzle. "What if he's involved? It's not just possible, it's likely. I think this person could be connected to the recent scandal. The one about the corruption investigation." Before she could finish, a cacophony erupted outside, louder than before. The front door of the apartment building slammed against the wall, and footsteps rushed in. My heart sank, adrenaline coursing through my veins. "Jack, we have to hide," Ellie exclaimed, panic clinging to every word. I yanked open the nearest door, a small storage closet, and we stumbled inside, cramming ourselves into the tight space as the footsteps grew nearer, echoing ominously. The door creaked open slowly, the malevolent figure of the man from the cafe sweeping into view. It was as if the shadows themselves had come alive, twisting around him. The darkness of the entryway mingled with the uncertainty in my heart, creating an inescapable tension. "Everyone needs to listen carefully," his voice dripped with an unsettling calm that was at odds with the chaos that had ensued before. "I know you're in here, Ellie. I know you want to play hide and seek, but I can assure you, it won't end well for you." Ellie gasped softly, her hand clenching my arm. I could feel her trembling, every shiver resonating with the fear we both shared. "What does he want?" she whispered, her voice scarcely more than a breath. "I don't know," I replied, dimly aware that uncertainty was only amplifying the threat. The sound of scraping filled the air, the man pushing furniture aside, searching eagerly. "Your little charade won't save you," he said gleefully, as if the act of finding us was a game to him, a game for which he already held the winning card. And then, miraculously, he paused. "Where is it?" he said, a hint of confusion coloring his voice. "You've hidden something, haven't you?" Ellie looked at me, our shared realization dawning. Whatever she had been searching for in the cabinet might be more than a mere document, it might be the key to our escape. For a heartbeat, I considered the world outside the closet, the chaos of what we were leaving behind. Would it be worth the revelation, or would it bury us deeper in the storm? And as he continued to probe through the apartment, every moment stretched taut like a wire, I realized our choice was still among shadows. To face the truth, to reveal what we'd buried, or to let it break us apart entirely. In the silence, between Ellie's anxious breaths and the man's vile search, I leaned closer to her, whispering, "Whatever happens next, we keep each other safe." As we clung to the hope that this fragile moment of trust would carry us through the storm, I could almost hear fate whispering its next move, each heartbeat promising a reckoning we couldn't escape. The air in the closet tightened around us like a vice, both stifling and electric, as the man continued his relentless search. Shadows danced on the walls, and the tension, imbued with fear and desperation, ebbed and flowed between Ellie and me. My heart rattled in my chest, echoing an unsteady rhythm of uncertainty and shaky resolve. Ellie's breath became quick and shallow, her gaze darting nervously, casting glances at the closet door as if it might betray our presence. "Jack, I can't let him find that document. If he does..." She trailed off, horror pooling in her eyes. "Then we can't let him in here," I replied firmly, every word a vow. "We won't let him take you." The man continued his search, flipping over furniture and ripping drawers open, creating a cacophony of splintering wood and scattering objects. It felt like an eternity, the thundering echoes enveloping us, but every moment spent in this cramped space, forced to listen, the reality of our situation became unmistakable. It was more than just Ellie's life at stake, it was her legacy, her family's future entwined with her own. "Think, Ellie." I forced the words through clenched teeth, desperately trying to encourage her. "What did you hide?" "Letters," she whispered, her gaze unfocused. "I found some letters, right before everything went wrong. If he gets those, he'll know everything my father hid." His voice slithered closer, taunting as he resumed his search. "Time's running out, Ellie. You know I'm going to find you. It's just a matter of where to look next." Each word dripped with malicious intent, a promise of torment woven into the fabric of his threats. A surge of panic rose within me, but Ellie's determination suddenly shone through the fog of fear. "It's okay," she murmured, her forehead resting against the cool metal of the closet door. "We've come too far to back down." In that fleeting moment, I found a flicker of hope. "What do? We think like him," she replied, her eyes igniting with a spark of courage. "He's searching blindly, desperate for control. That means he's missing something crucial." She closed her eyes, concentrating fiercely. "We need to use that. I remember the last letter I saw. It was hidden behind a book, in the library. The library might be our only chance." The man knocked over a table with a loud crash, the sound ricocheting through my skull like a warning bell. "You are running out of time, Ellie," he yelled, frustration spilling over. "Ellie, we have to move." "We can't stay here," I urged, my mind racing. If her hunch was right, then her family's only hope lay in those letters, and if we were to escape this nightmare, we needed to act. "Okay," she whispered, commitment flooding her voice. "We need to get to the library. It's near the back exit of the apartment. I can lead the way." "Let's go then," I replied, taking a deep breath to stave off the tremors that threatened to betray my own fear. We shared a determined look, and then she inhaled deeply as the chaos continued unabated outside our cramped confines. With a gentle nudge, I eased the closet door open, the hinges creaking in protest. The coast appeared clear, but the shadows were enemies wearing familiar masks, waiting to devour the light. "Follow my lead," I whispered, stepping cautiously, hand gesturing for her to stay right behind me. In a constellation of muffled breaths, we moved towards the library, hearts pounding in synchronization. Each step felt like a betrayal of the silence that shrouded us, yet we pressed on, willing ourselves to remain unnoticed. My ears strained to hear every little sound, the distant rumble of muffled voices, the rustling of fabric, and the crunching of material strewn across the floor. Finally, we reached the library door, intricately adorned, standing like a stalwart guardian between us and hope. Ellie placed her hand on the knob but hesitated. What if he's already found it? The anxiety hadn't left her eyes. Well, deal with that when we get there, I said, pressing my palm over hers, a fleeting comfort in a sea of uncertainty. With a nod, Ellie turned the knob and we quietly slipped inside. Dust particles danced in the beams of fading light filtering through the tall windows, illuminating the chaos of the room. Books lay scattered across the floor in disarray, their spines like broken promises. Over there, Ellie pointed, moving toward a tall bookshelf, an inconspicuous corner hiding the very things we needed. My heart raced as we frantically scanned titles, hoping beyond hope that what we sought was still intact. But just as Ellie reached for a leather-bound volume, we heard footsteps echoing behind us, heavy, deliberate steps closing in. The realization slammed into me with cold terror. He was coming. The man had found his way back. Jack, we need to move. Now. Her voice rose in pitch as her hand gripped the book tight. My pulse quickened as the library door shook and creaked ominously under the weight of his approach. This way, I said, pivoting to the back room that led to the emergency exit, instinct overriding panic. With the echoing threats growing closer, I felt a surge of resolve wash over me. Ellie was more than just a girl caught in a web spun from her family's dark past. She was a beacon of hope, and somehow, someway, I was going to protect her even if it meant facing the very danger that hunted her. As we sprinted toward the back exit, adrenaline coursing through my veins, a sudden crash erupted from the door, the sound reverberating through my bones. My heart began to race faster than ever as I realized, this wasn't just about survival anymore. We were on the cusp of unearthing a truth that could shatter everything we thought we knew, a truth that might tear us apart forever. And then, with a forceful jolt, the door burst open, and the shadows we feared poured into the room. The library door burst open, splintering the already fragile silence. The figure of the man surged forward, his silhouette ominously framed by the dim light, eyes blazing with fury. Ellie and I exchanged a fleeting glance, a shared realization that we had crossed a threshold from desperation into outright chaos. Run! I shouted, adrenaline lending strength to my voice as I pushed Ellie toward the back exit. The moment she took flight, leaving the old library behind us, I felt a whisper of hope battling against the terror that clawed at my insides. We might just escape. The emergency exit door loomed ahead, a portal to the outside world. As I gripped the cold handle, another crash reverberated through the room. He was close, too close. But staring into Ellie's frightened eyes filled me with a determination I hadn't known I possessed. With one final, desperate heave, I flung open the door, rushing through it into the dimly lit alley. The night air hit us with a rush of unexpected freedom, but the darkness seemed to loom over us, oppressive and thick. I didn't dare look back. The sound of his footsteps echoed in my mind, propelling us forward. Where do we go now? Ellie gasped, the urgency in her voice nearly drowned out by our pounding hearts. There's a park a few blocks away. We can hide there, I replied, my thoughts racing as I held the door for Ellie to slip through behind me. We took off, darting down the empty street littered with shadows and unease. Each step felt perilous, like we were running not just from the man but from the truth that bound us together. Every inch I moved felt like a test of my resolve. Could I keep her safe? As we reached the park, I caught a glimpse of the moonlight filtering through the branches above. The soft rustle of leaves whispered against our frayed nerves. We ducked behind the largest cluster of trees, endeavoring to catch our breath. The world turned muted as we strained to hear any sign of pursuit. After a moment, Ellie's hands found mine, her grip firm yet trembling. What if he follows us? What if he finds us? Her voice cracked, unraveling the strength she had wielded moments before in the library. He won't find us, I assured her, unsure if I believed my own words. We just have to stay quiet. He's unpredictable. Hell, think we ran somewhere else. But even as I said it, a sinking feeling gnawed at the pit of my stomach. We were alive, yes, but the reality of Ellie's father's secrets still loomed over us. What if the letters we sought held the very reasons for her father's demise? What if the truth shattered the world she'd known? I should have never gotten involved in any of this, Ellie murmured, her voice thick with regret. Maybe if I hadn't dug into my father's history, he wouldn't have found me. No, I said, pulling her closer. This isn't your fault. You're brave for wanting to uncover the truth, not everyone has that courage. Her eyes glistened, reflecting the fragile hope that sparkled through the dark. Before she could respond, a distant shout ripped through the silence, followed by the pounding of footsteps. That way. A voice barked, violent and insistent. Panic flared within me. I could sense the terror in Ellie's face, but my instincts kicked in. We need to move again, I urged, dragging her with me deeper into the foliage. Each rustle of leaves sent adrenaline coursing through my veins, urging me to run faster, to find a place where we could breathe without fear. We stumbled deeper into the overgrown paths of the park, weaving between trees and bushes. The further we went, the more I realized we were running on instinct. The shadows felt like they were clutching at my heels, but I refused to look back. We had to keep going. What if we don't find a way out? Ellie's voice trembled again, the fear breaking through the bravado she'd shown earlier. What if we're too late? Her words struck me like a physical blow. I swallowed hard, not willing to let despair seep into the crack of hope we'd worked so hard to maintain. We won't be, I declared, the affirmation more for myself than her. We cannot let everything we fought against slip away, and then, as if the universe had chosen that moment to conspire against us, I felt a sudden constriction around my chest, the air heavy with trepidation. Just ahead, the thicket opened into a small clearing. But something was off. A flicker of movement caught my eye and I halted instinctively, my heart freezing at the sight before us. 3 figures stood beneath the moonlight, casting long shadows. They weren't just random parkgoers, they were known faces lurking in the darkness. Faces I recognized. A burst of recognition coursed through me. Tom, the man from Ellie's family estate, and 2 others, each holding an air of authority I couldn't quite place. They were here for us, but why? It looks like we found them, one of them said, stepping forward, a smug grin slicing through the tension. My heart raced. This was not part of the plan. The very people we could have turned to for aid now stood between us and our freedom, and as their intentions loomed closer, I felt the ground shift beneath us. Ellie's grip tightened on me, a new wave of fear wrapping around us like a choking vine. Jack, she whispered, an inkling of dread threading through her voice. Just then, from the crowd of figures, another voice cut through, smooth yet laced with malice. It's time to end this chase, Ellie. Your past is catching up with you, and you need to face the truth. I felt cold, prickling fear weave its way up my spine. This was its turning point. We had not just unearthed the truth of her father's legacy, but also invoked the wrath of those who wished to silence her, to bury her family's secrets once and for all. Suddenly, the world felt smaller, and I realized we were at the precipice of an unthinkable revelation, one that could bind Ellie to the very fate she feared, and drag me along with her. I turned to Ellie, my chest tightening as the gravity of the situation pressed down around us. No matter what happens, we'll face it together, I promised, though I could hardly recognize the trembling between my assurance and my own dread. The figures moved closer, and as the chilling reality surged forward, I braced for the unpredictable storm ahead, a storm that could change everything we believed we knew about ourselves, and the truth we were desperately trying to uncover. The tension in the clearing tightened like a noose, the cool night air charged with the unspoken truths hovering around us. Ellie's breath was warm against my skin as she leaned in, barely a whisper as she pleaded with me to leave. Jack, we have to run, she said, her voice edged with panic that broke my heart with each tremor. No, I responded firmly, though my heart raced dangerously. Each cautious step the figures took toward us sent a ripple of dread coursing through my veins. We can't let them separate us. Not now. The leader of the group, Tom, stepped forward, the glint of moonlight reflecting off something metallic in